Paul Heyman just mocked Seth Rollins on live television, standing in the middle of the ring with that smug grin on his face, recounting every single humiliating moment of Seth's betrayal by the Vision while positioning it as proof that Seth was never worthy of being in the same conversation as Roman Reigns. And Seth's reaction, the absolutely unhinged promo he cut in response, has exposed a side of Seth Rollins we have never seen before. This isn't the architect. This isn't the visionary. This is a man who has been broken, humiliated, manipulated, and pushed past every psychological breaking point, and who just declared war on Paul Heyman, Roman Reigns, the Shield reunion, and everyone else who thinks they can use his pain as entertainment. When I show you what Seth said that has WWE executives terrified he might be shooting on the company, when I reveal the threat Seth made that crossed every line of acceptable behavior, and when I explain why multiple wrestlers are now refusing to work with Seth because they're genuinely afraid of what he might do, you're going to realize that Monday Night Raw just became the most dangerous show in wrestling and Seth Rollins is the most dangerous man on it. Let me take you through Paul Heyman's promo because understanding exactly what he said and how he said it is crucial to understanding why Seth's response was so volcanic and so disturbing. Heyman came out to Raw about 40 minutes into the show, walking to the ring with his phone in hand and that confident strut that announces he's about to say something that's going to piss everyone off. The crowd was already booing before he even grabbed a microphone, knowing that Heyman's appearance meant Roman Reigns was involved somehow and that whatever Heyman was about to say would be infuriating. Heyman began his promo with his typical introduction, calling himself the special counsel to the tribal chief, and acknowledging that there has been controversy on Monday Night Raw in recent weeks. But then Heyman's tone shifted from his usual theatrical presentation to something more personal and more cutting. He said, "I've been asked by several members of the WWE Universe and several members of the media to address the situation involving Seth Rollins, to address his betrayal by the Vision, to address his humiliating apology to Roman Reigns where he got down on his knees like a peasant begging his king for forgiveness, and to address his subsequent relinquishment of the World Heavyweight Championship because he realized he wasn't mentally strong enough to be a champion." The crowd was booing loudly at this point, with many people chanting asshole at Heyman for being so disrespectful to Seth. But Heyman continued, raising his voice to be heard over the crowd. "So let me address all of it at once. Seth Rollins has spent his entire career trying to prove he's as good as Roman Reigns. And he's failed. Every single time. Seth had to betray the Shield and align with the authority to win his first world championship because he couldn't do it on his own merit. Seth has been manipulated by everyone from Triple H to the Vision because he's weak-minded and desperate for validation. Seth got on his knees and apologized to Roman because deep down, he knows that Roman is superior to him in every measurable way." Heyman was delivering these lines with venom and with precision, targeting every insecurity and vulnerability that Seth has displayed over the past months. The crowd was getting increasingly hostile, throwing trash toward the ring and chanting for Seth to come out and confront Heyman. But Heyman wasn't done. He said the reason the Vision betrayed Seth isn't because they're ungrateful or because they're villains. It's because they recognized what everyone else has always known but was too polite to say out loud. Seth Rollins is a fraud. He pretends to be a leader but he can't inspire loyalty. He pretends to be a champion but he gives up the title when things get difficult. He pretends to be Roman's equal but he kneels before the tribal chief and begs for acceptance like the inferior wrestler he's always been. That line about Seth being inferior to Roman, delivered with such contempt and such conviction, that was designed to get maximum heat on Heyman and to set up Seth's eventual response. But Heyman took it even further. He pulled out his phone, held it up to show the audience, and said, "In fact, I have Roman Reigns on the phone right now. And Roman wanted me to deliver a message to Seth Rollins and to everyone watching. Roman says, 'Seth, I accepted your apology because I felt sorry for you. I allowed you back into my orbit because I thought maybe you could be useful as a soldier in my army. But watching you relinquish the World Heavyweight Championship, watching you quit when things got tough, that proved to me that you'll never be more than a supporting character in my story. So do me a favor. Stay out of my way. Know your place. And acknowledge your tribal chief.'" The crowd erupted in boos that were deafening. Heyman stood in the ring soaking in the hatred, clearly enjoying every second of the negative reaction he was generating. He was about to continue speaking when Seth Rollins' music hit, and the place absolutely lost their minds with cheers and anticipation. Everyone expected Seth to run down to the ring, attack Heyman, maybe deliver a heartfelt babyface promo about proving everyone wrong and reclaiming his legacy. What we got instead was so much darker and so much more unsettling than anyone expected. Seth walked out onto the stage moving slowly and deliberately, not with his usual energetic entrance but with the body language of someone who is barely containing rage that's threatening to explode at any moment. He was dressed in street clothes rather than ring gear, jeans, and a black t-shirt, and he was carrying a microphone that he grabbed from a stagehand before anyone could stop him. Seth's expression was completely blank, no emotion visible on his face, which was somehow more frightening than if he had been visibly angry. Seth raised the microphone to his lips and said in a voice that was eerily calm and controlled, "Paul, shut your mouth before I come down there and shut it for you permanently." The crowd popped huge for that threat, but there was something in Seth's delivery that didn't feel like typical wrestling promo bravado. It felt real. It felt dangerous. Heyman, to his credit, didn't back down or show fear. He gestured for Seth to come to the ring, taunting him, daring him to try something. But Seth didn't move from the stage. Instead, he continued speaking in that same disturbingly calm tone. "You think you can stand in that ring and mock me? You think you can deliver messages from Roman like you're some kind of important messenger? Paul, you're a parasite. You've spent 30 years attaching yourself to talented wrestlers and pretending their accomplishments are yours. You did it with Brock Lesnar. You did it with CM Punk. You're doing it with Roman. And when Roman gets tired of your manipulation and your ego, he'll throw you away just like everyone else has. Because that's all you are, Paul. You're disposable. You're forgettable. You're nothing without someone else giving you relevance." The crowd was shocked into near silence by Seth's viciousness. This wasn't playful heel babyface banter. This was Seth going for the throat, attacking Heyman's professional legacy and his value as a performer. Heyman's expression flickered for just a moment, showing that Seth's words had actually gotten under his skin. But Seth wasn't done. His voice started getting louder and more intense as he continued. "And Roman? Roman Reigns wants to send me messages? Roman thinks I should stay out of his way and know my place? Let me send Roman a message right back. I don't care about Roman anymore. I don't care about the Shield. I don't care about factions or alliances or playing politics with people who think they're better than everyone else. What I care about is destruction. What I care about is making everyone who has betrayed me, mocked me, or underestimated me pay for what they've done." Seth's voice was getting progressively more unhinged as he spoke, his calm facade starting to crack and reveal genuine rage underneath. "The Vision betrayed me? I'm going to end their careers one by one. Carmelo Hayes, Wes Lee, Axiom, Nathan Fraser, I'm coming for all of you and I'm going to hurt you in ways that make you regret ever crossing me. Roman wants me to know my place? My place is standing over Roman's broken body after I take everything from him just like he tried to take everything from me. Paul Heyman thinks he can insult me on live television? Paul, I swear to God, the next time I see you backstage, there won't be cameras and there won't be security fast enough to protect you from what I'm going to do." That threat against Heyman, the specificity of saying "the next time I see you backstage" with the implication that Seth was going to assault him in an uncontrolled environment, that crossed a line that WWE typically doesn't allow their babyfaces to cross. The crowd was cheering because they wanted to see Seth get revenge, but there was an undercurrent of discomfort because Seth's intensity was so genuine and so dark that it felt less like entertainment and more like witnessing someone have a legitimate psychological break on live television. Seth's voice got even louder as he built toward his conclusion. "I spent years trying to be the locker room leader, trying to help young talent, trying to be a mentor and a role model and someone people could look up to, and where did it get me? Betrayed, humiliated, manipulated. So I'm done trying to be the good guy. I'm done caring about what's right or what's fair or what's best for WWE. From now on, I'm only interested in one thing: destroying everyone who stands in my way. And I don't care if that's the Vision, or Roman's new faction, or Paul Heyman, or Triple H, or WWE management itself. I will burn this entire company to the ground if that's what it takes to get my revenge." That final line about burning WWE to the ground, that seemed to cross from character promo into territory that could be interpreted as Seth shooting on the company and expressing legitimate frustration with how he's been booked. The crowd was going absolutely insane, a deafening mix of cheers for Seth's passion and stunned reactions to how far he was taking this promo. Seth dropped the microphone and stared directly at Paul Heyman in the ring for a long moment, and the look in Seth's eyes was absolutely chilling. Then Seth turned and walked backstage without waiting for any response. Paul Heyman was left standing in the ring looking genuinely unsettled. Heyman tried to recover by picking up his own microphone and saying something about Seth proving that he's unstable and not worthy of being in Roman's presence, but his voice didn't have the same confidence and swagger it had before Seth's promo. Michael Cole and Corey Graves on commentary were struggling to process what they just witnessed, with Cole saying multiple times, "I've never seen Seth like this," and "I think Seth might need help," in a tone that suggested genuine concern rather than just selling the storyline. The backstage reaction to Seth's promo has been reportedly intense and divided within WWE. Some wrestlers and producers are praising Seth for delivering an incredibly passionate and believable promo that generated huge reactions and made people genuinely invested in seeing what happens next. These people see Seth's intensity as exactly what WWE needs, a main event star who can make audiences believe that his character's emotions and motivations are real rather than just scripted entertainment. They're excited about the direction this storyline is taking and believe Seth is positioned for an incredible revenge arc that could make him more popular than ever. Other people backstage are reportedly very concerned about Seth's mental state and whether he's actually okay or whether the lines between his character's psychological breakdown and Seth's real feelings about his booking have become too blurred. These people point to specific moments in Seth's promo where his language and his delivery seemed to go beyond what was scripted, where Seth appeared to be expressing genuine frustration with WWE's creative direction and his positioning within the company. They're worried that Seth is going to do or say something on live television that WWE can't edit or control, something that could damage business relationships or create PR nightmares. Triple H reportedly had a meeting with Seth immediately after Raw went off the air to discuss the promo and ensure that Seth is in the right headspace to continue with this storyline. According to sources familiar with that conversation, Triple H asked Seth directly whether he was working or shooting during certain parts of the promo, and Seth assured Triple H that everything he said was in character and designed to generate heat and sympathy for his revenge storyline. But sources also say that Triple H expressed concern about some of the specific threats Seth made, particularly the line about attacking Heyman backstage without cameras, because that kind of language could potentially create legal liability issues for WWE if something did happen to Heyman, and Seth had essentially announced his intention to assault him on television. Paul Heyman's reaction to Seth's threats has been reportedly mixed as well. On one hand, Heyman is a professional who understands that threatening promos are part of wrestling and that Seth's intensity is ultimately good for business because it makes their eventual confrontations more anticipated and more emotionally resonant. On the other hand, Heyman is also a human being who just heard another wrestler threaten to hurt him in a way that sounded disturbingly real, and even someone as experienced as Heyman can feel uncomfortable when the line between wrestling fiction and potential real violence becomes unclear. The direction WWE is planning to take this Seth Rollins character arc is apparently towards a more aggressive and morally ambiguous version of Seth than we've seen in recent years. The goal is to have Seth operating as a tweener who does increasingly extreme things in pursuit of revenge against everyone who has wronged him. Seth won't be a traditional babyface who always does the right thing and fights fair. He'll be someone who uses weapons, who attacks people from behind, who doesn't care about rules or honor, but who the audience still supports because his motivations are understandable and his targets are people that the audience wants to see get hurt. This kind of anti-hero character can be incredibly compelling when done well, creating a protagonist who is flawed and who crosses ethical lines but who audiences still root for because we understand their pain and their desire for revenge. Steve Austin during the Attitude Era is the most obvious parallel, a character who was violent and often cruel but who audiences loved because he was authentic and because his targets were authority figures that everyone wanted to see get their comeuppance. WWE is apparently hoping Seth can fill a similar role as someone who channels audience frustration and gives fans the satisfaction of seeing someone fight back against the systems and people who abuse their power. But this type of character is also risky because if Seth goes too far or if his actions become too villainous, audiences might turn on him and start viewing him as a heel rather than a sympathetic anti-hero. WWE needs to calibrate carefully how extreme Seth's revenge tactics are, ensuring he remains the character audiences support even when he's doing questionable things. The line between anti-hero and outright villain is thin, and WWE has historically struggled with maintaining that balance over extended periods.